The chant of the crowd thundered down Main Street, drums of voices demanding justice. Banners rippled like storm clouds caught in fists. Maya's throat ached from shouting, her arms lifted high, palms out, a signal of peace. Her heartbeat was steady, but her stomach burned with unease. Too many uniforms, too many eyes fixed on her skin like a target. The line of officers stood rigid, visors glinting in the sun. One stepped forward, broad shoulders, jaw-tight eyes locked on her. His voice was sharp, slicing through the noise. "Get back where you belong." The words slapped harder than a baton. For a split second, the street went quiet in her head, as if the world held its breath with her. She swallowed air that tasted of sweat, asphalt, and betrayal. Around her, the chant faltered, replaced by murmurs. Phones lifted higher to record. Every lens caught her stillness, her face, the contempt in his, her fists curled, nails pressing crescents into her palms. She wanted to shout, to burn his words to ash. Instead, she lifted her chin, eyes locked on his. Silent refusal glowing hotter than the sun overhead. The officer's lips twisted into a smirk. He leaned in, breath acrid, voice low enough to feel like a secret meant only for her. "No one's coming to save you." Something inside her snapped, rage braided with fear, defiance tangled with grief. She opened her mouth, not sure whether a scream or a command would fall out. But before she could, the officer's hand moved toward his belt. Cameras flashed, sirens wailed closer, and Maya knew whatever happened next would change everything. The air throbbed with chants. No justice, no peace, echoed off the glass walls of downtown high-rises, ricocheting like ricocheted bullets in a canyon of steel and stone. Maya's throat was raw, but she didn't stop. Her voice blended with hundreds of others, raised fists punching skyward like a forest of defiance. She moved at the front, where bodies pressed shoulder to shoulder. Sweat slicked her temples, the summer heat clinging heavy to her skin, but her gaze was forward, locked on the line of blue blocking the street. Officers stood shoulder to shoulder, shields at their sides, black gloves gripping batons, behind tinted visors. No eyes could be read, only the reflection of banners, masks, and anger. "Stay calm," Maya murmured to those nearest her, though her own pulse was drumming. She raised her open palms, hands up, eyes forward. A drumbeat rolled from the crowd, then another. Plastic bottles rattled against pavement. The chants grew louder, a wave swelling toward the barricade. For a moment, it was only sound and motion pure, will refusing to break. Then the officer stepped forward, broad chest, shaved head gleaming with sweat, a sneer already forming on his lips. Officer Daniels. Maya knew his face. Every organizer in the city did. Stories trailed him like a shadow. Harsh arrests, bruises denied, paperwork always cleaned by superiors. He was the blunt edge of authority, and he carried himself like it. He pointed at her, not the crowd. "Her, you," he barked. "Back up now." Maya held his stare. Her arms were still raised, palms out. "We're peaceful," she said, voice strong enough to carry. "We're on public ground." Daniels's smirk deepened. His voice thundered through the bullhorn at his hip. "You're not where you belong," the crowd hissed. Someone shouted, "She belongs here more than you." Phones tilted, red record lights winking like watchful eyes. Maya felt every lens on her, every breath tightening the moment. Her chest burned, but she lifted her chin. "I'm not moving." He stepped closer, closing the gap between his boots and the chalk slogans scrawled across asphalt. "This is your last warning," he said, low now, so the cameras might miss it. "Step back, or you're going down." Maya's nails dug into her palms. Every instinct screamed to spit fire back at him, to throw his words into dust. But the memory of her father's voice cut through. "They'll twist your anger into a weapon against you. Don't give them that chance." So she said nothing, only stared. A silence sharper than any scream. The standoff cracked when another officer shoved a protester beside her. The man stumbled into Maya's shoulder, nearly knocking her down. Shouts erupted, arms flailed. A bottle clattered at Daniels's feet, rolling against his boot. His expression hardened into something hungry. "Advance," he barked. The line surged forward. Shields clashed with banners. The chant collapsed into chaos. Maya was shoved back by the press of bodies, her ribs crushed between elbows and signs. Hands grabbed her arm. Janelle, her fellow organizer, pulling hard. "Move, Maya, this way." But Daniels's voice roared over the noise. "Grab her." His fingers stabbed toward Maya like a knife. Two officers lunged. Rough hands clamped her wrists, twisting them behind her back. Pain shot down her arms. She staggered, face inches from hot asphalt. The press of a knee shoved her lower. Cheers of police, screams of protesters, the crack of batons, it all blurred. Her cheek brushed gritty pavement. Got her, one officer growled. No, Janelle screamed, clawing at Maya's arm. Another protester swung a sign like a shield, shoving into the officers. The grip on Maya's wrists faltered, enough for her to wrench sideways. Gasping, she stumbled upright, Janelle dragging her by the elbow. This way, Janelle yelled. They pushed through the crush of bodies, ducking behind a toppled barricade. Shouts chased them, hold her, but the swarm of protesters closed ranks, blocking the officers' reach. Maya's lungs burned. She bent double, hands braced on her knees, sweat dripping into her eyes. Behind her, the street was a battlefield of voices and smoke. Daniel still loomed in the chaos, barking orders. Scanning the crowd like a predator denied its meal, Janelle clutched her shoulders. You okay? Talk to me. Maya swallowed, voice hoarse. He wanted me, just me. Her eyes darted back, toward Daniel's. This isn't over. Phones still filmed, capturing every second. Maya could almost feel the digital trail spreading outward her face. His words, the clash. But she also knew how those images could be twisted. Headlines tomorrow might read riot in downtown instead of officer targets peaceful protester. The weight of that truth settled like lead in her stomach. The crowd surged again, chants reborn out of anger. Shame, shame, pounded against the police line. Maya straightened, forcing herself taller, though her wrists throbbed from the grip marks already forming. We have to keep going, she said. If we leave now, they win. Janelle shook her head, fear etched in every line. They're gunning for you. Daniels won't stop until then. Let them see. Maya cut in, voice low, steady. Let every camera see. For a beat, Janelle's eyes held hers, torn between terror and loyalty. Then she nodded, slow but firm. The crowd surged around them, chants rebuilding into thunder. Maya stepped back toward the front, toward the line of shields and the man who had singled her out. Daniels's gaze met hers again across the storm. A smirk tugged at his mouth, but beneath it, something darker, pulsed a promise. He tapped his baton against his palm, deliberate, slow, a silent vow only she seemed to hear. Maya's spine stiffened. Fear gnawed at her ribs, but rage coiled tighter. She wasn't stepping back. Not tonight, not ever. The street belonged to them all, and this was only the beginning. Maya winced as she lowered herself onto the couch, every muscle aching. The apartment smelled faintly of disinfectant and fried onions. Janelle had been cleaning and cooking all at once, trying to keep busy since they got home. Bruises were already blooming along Maya's wrists, purple halos where the cuffs had almost closed. She held an ice pack against one, jaw tight. The television flickered with breaking news. A polished anchor's voice rang out, calm, detached. Tonight's demonstration in downtown Brookhaven ended in unrest as tensions rose between police and protesters. Officials say officers acted to maintain order after objects were thrown. Janelle scoffed from the kitchen. Objects? They mean that one plastic water bottle. That's what they're calling violence. She slapped a dish towel onto the counter. They didn't show him pointing at you, did they? Maya shook her head. Not yet. Her eyes stayed on the screen. The footage rolled. Smoke, shoving, chants cut into jagged fragments. Then a shot of her arms raised, face tilted toward the line of police. Daniels's voice thundered faintly over the crowd. You're not where you belong. The anchor's commentary slid right over it, almost as if the words had been background noise. Maya's stomach turned. They'll bury it, edit it out, spin it, just like always. The phone on the coffee table buzzed. Notifications stacked like falling dominoes. Dags, reposts, messages, clips of Daniels's words were already online, circulating raw and unedited. Some captions burned with outrage. Proof. This is what we're fighting. Others were twisted, mocking, painting her as an agitator. Janelle sank onto the couch beside her, pulling her legs up. It's everywhere already. People saw. They can't erase it now. Maya pressed the ice pack harder against her skin. They don't have to erase it. They just flood it with noise until the truth drowns. Silence hung, heavy except for the anchor's measured tones. A new clip played. Daniel standing behind the barricade after the scuffle, jaw tight, helmet off. We did what we had to do, he told a reporter. We showed restraint. This city is our responsibility to protect her. His expression was calm, almost fatherly, nothing like the sneer she remembered inches from her face. Maya clenched her teeth. He knows the camera now. He knows how to play them. Her phone buzzed again, this time a call. She let it ring, dread pooling. Janelle glanced at the screen. "It's your mom." Maya exhaled, then answered. "Hi, Mom." Her mother's voice was taut with worry. "Baby, I saw the news. Are you safe? Tell me you're home." "I'm fine," Maya said quickly. "Bruised, not broken." "You don't sound fine," her mother pressed. "I told you this system doesn't change just because you stand in the street. You're putting yourself in their sights." Maya closed her eyes, hearing the echo of her father's words from years ago. "They'll always see you before they hear you." He had been right. He had always been right. "I can't stay quiet," she whispered. "Not after tonight." Her mother's silence stretched. Then, softly, "Just don't forget your life matters too." To me, the line clicked off. Janelle touched her shoulder. "She's scared, that's all." Maya nodded, though her chest felt like stone. The television now showed analysts debating crowd control tactics, their suits pristine, voices detached. No one mentioned Daniels's smirk, his words. No one spoke of her. She stood, pacing the small living room. "If I let this go, they win. But if I fight it, they'll come harder." Her reflection flickered in the darkened window. Tired eyes, a swollen lip. She barely recognized herself. Janelle leaned forward. "Then we don't let you fight it alone. We push back with the footage, with the truth. People are listening." Maya's phone buzzed again, this time. A message from Devon, a journalist she knew from local meetings. "Saw what happened. They're cutting your worth. Call me tonight. We need your side on record." Her fingers trembled around the device. The thought of speaking into another camera so soon made her stomach clench, but silence felt heavier. Across town, Officer Daniels lounged in the precinct locker room, boots up on a bench. His colleagues laughed over sandwiches, scrolling through their own phones. "Whole internet's obsessed with your little showdown." One of them chuckled. "You're famous now." Daniels smirked. "Let them talk. They'll forget by next week. They always do." He peeled off his gloves, tossing them into a locker. "Besides, command's got my back. Always has." The rookie across the room shifted uncomfortably, eyes darting to the floor. Daniels noticed, grin tightening. "Problem, kid?" The rookie shook his head. "No, so good," Daniels said, "because this city doesn't run on feelings, it runs on control." He clapped another officer on the shoulder, laughter echoing off the tiled walls. Back in the apartment, Maya sank into the couch again. Her wrists throbbed under the ice pack. Janelle muted the TV, leaving only the hum of the fridge in the silence. Maya whispered, half to herself, half to the room, "If they think they can break me with fear, they don't know me at all." Her phone buzzed once more. This time, she didn't hesitate. She opened Devon's message and typed, "Let's talk, tonight." The words glowed back at her in the dark, steady and unshaken. For the first time since the street erupted, her hands stopped trembling. The council chamber smelled of varnish and dust, a stale air that clung to the wooden benches and old microphones. Rows of citizens filled the seats, signs tucked beneath their arms, voices hushed but restless. Cameras lined the back wall, blinking red like watchful eyes. At the front, a semicircle of council members in suits shuffled papers, expressions smooth as stone. Maya sat in the second row, heart pounding against her ribs. Her bruises throbbed under the cuff of her sleeve. Janelle squeezed her hand, whispering, "Stay sharp. They'll try to cut you off." Maya nodded, gaze fixed on the speaker's podium. Daniels leaned against the far wall in uniform, helmet tucked under his arm, watching her. His posture was relaxed, but his smirk was raised. The sight of him here, not on the street, but inside this chamber of civic order, felt like intrusion, like poison dropped into water. The council chair cleared his throat. "We're here to discuss public safety concerns after recent demonstrations downtown. Let's proceed with respect." A woman in pearls leaned toward her microphone. "We all value the right to protest. However, when order breaks down, we must prioritize the safety of families, businesses, and property." Murmurs rippled through the audience. A man in the back muttered, "Property first, as always." The chair nodded. "We'll open the floor to public comment." Maya rose, legs steady despite the pressure coiling in her chest. She approached the podium, wood polished smooth by decades of hands. Adjusting the mic, she looked straight ahead, not at Daniels, not at the council, but at the cameras. "My name is Maya Carter. I was at the protest 2 nights ago. I want this record to reflect that we were peaceful. We raised our hands, we chanted, and we were met with shields and batons." Officer Daniels singled me out. His words, "You're not where you belong," were recorded and broadcast. That is not safety. That is not protection. That is racism, spoken in uniform, backed by a badge. Gasps stirred, a wave moving through the room. Maya gripped the edges of the podium, pulse thundering. You cannot claim public trust while your officers weaponize skin color as threat. You cannot claim order when what you enforce is fear. Ms. Carter, the chair interrupted, voice clip. We ask that you refrain from inflammatory language. This forum is not for personal attacks. In what world is repeating his words inflammatory? Maya shot back. They cut deeper than any baton. Daniels shifted against the wall, smirk widening. Another council member leaned in, voice calm, rehearsed. We understand emotions are high, but let us not conflate isolated misconduct with the honorable service of our police department. One man's words do not define the system. Maya's jaw locked. No, but the system protects him after those words. That's the problem. Time's up, the chair said sharply, gavel cracking wood. Next speaker. The sound echoed like a slammed cell door. Maya's mic cut. Her voice strangled mid. She stood frozen, heat flooding her face. The audience murmured, some clapping softly in solidarity, others shifting uncomfortably. She stepped down, fists clenched. As she passed, Daniels murmured just loud enough for her ears, cute speech. Shame no one here cares. Her stomach twisted. She kept walking, refusing to look at him. Outside, the evening air slapped cool against her skin. Reporters swarmed near the steps, their microphones angled like spears. Devon, the journalist who'd reached out, slipped through the throng to her side. You were sharp in there, he said quickly, but they'll cut the broadcast before your strongest lines. They already did inside, Maya muttered. Then we push it ourselves. His eyes narrowed, determined. Give me a full statement, not the council's version. Before she could answer, Daniels exited the building, swagger heavy in his stride. He spotted them, angled toward her. The reporters turned, scenting confrontation. Daniels stopped inches from her. His smile was cold steel. Still chasing cameras, Carter? Maya's voice was steady, though her pulse hammered, still hiding behind a badge. Gasps from the reporters. Devon raised his phone, recording. Daniels leaned in, voice pitched low but not low enough to escape microphones. You'll never win. You think anyone here will ruin their career to back you? The system feeds me, not you. Maya's spine stiffened. Every empire crumbles. You just don't see the cracks yet. The crowd buzzed. Flashbulbs popped. Daniels stepped back, mask of calm restored, but a flicker of irritation flashed in his eyes. He turned on his heel, retreating toward a waiting cruiser. Devon lowered his phone, breath quick. You just gave me gold. They won't be able to spin this the same way. Maya exhaled, trembling, but her gaze stayed fixed on Daniels's retreating figure. Beneath her bruises, beneath her fear, something burned hotter. He was powerful, shielded, but not untouchable, not forever. The cameras had caught that too. The church basement smelled of coffee and dust. Folding chairs arranged in a wide circle beneath buzzing fluorescent lights. Flyers plastered the walls. Know your rights. Stop police brutality. Justice for all. The protest leaders gathered, voices overlapping in low debate. The room hummed with tension, not celebration. Maya sat forward, elbows on her knees, bruises visible along her wrists. We can't slow down. He called me out by name, in front of hundreds. That's not a slip, it's a threat. An older man across the circle, gray hair tucked under a cap, shook his head. Child, I've been at this longer than you've been alive. Every time we push too fast, too loud, they crush us harder. Burnout is real. Prison is real. Graves are real. His voice cracked, heavy with history. We're already being crushed. Maya shot back. If we let up, they win. Janelle leaned against the wall, arms crossed. The footage is out there. The journalist is pushing it. Maybe we build pressure through exposure instead of head-on confrontation. That's what they want. A younger activist snapped. His hoodie bore a slogan in cracked paint. They want us to tweet and wait. Nothing changes in the street if we just sit behind screens. The circle fractured into overlapping arguments, older voices urging caution, younger ones demanding escalation. Everyone talking over everyone. The air grew hot with frustration. Maya pressed her palms together, steadying her breath. This isn't either or, she finally said, cutting through the noise. We need both, the pressure online and bodies in the street, visibility and persistence. The room fell into uneasy silence, some nodding, others staring at the floor. The divisions remained, cracks showing, even in solidarity. Across the city, Daniel sat in the locker room, tugging off his boots. The rookie from earlier, Officer Hall, hesitated by his own locker, eyes darting. Daniel smirked. "You're jumpy, Hall. Something on your conscience?" Hall's jaw tightened. "Sir, what you said at the protest, it didn't look good. People are saying it was racial." Daniels laughed, low and sharp. "People are always saying something. The system doesn't bend to You'll learn." But Daniels slammed his locker door shut. The sound cracked through the room, but nothing. "You want to last here, you keep your mouth shut. You think Broft cares about some activist's bruises. They'll bury it like they always do." Hall lowered his gaze, fists clenched at his sides. He didn't reply. Daniels clapped him on the shoulder, hard enough to sting. "Good man." Back in the church basement, Maya's phone buzzed. She glanced at the screen. A lawyer's number, one she'd been given weeks ago by another activist. She stepped into the hallway, voice hushed. "This is Carter." "Miss Carter, this is Attorney Lawson. I've seen the footage. If you want to challenge Officer Daniels legally, we have grounds pattern of misconduct, racial bias. He's not clean, not by a long shot." Maya's pulse spiked. "You have records." "Not officially. Complaints buried, dismissed without review. But they exist. Enough to show a pattern if we pull them together. You're not the first he's targeted." Maya pressed against the cold hallway wall, fingers trembling around the phone. "Why hasn't this come out before?" "Because the department shields him. They protect their own. But cracks are showing. If we push right, we can break them open." Her throat tightened. She thought of Hall's eyes earlier in the meeting, haunted, hesitant, cracks in the wall. "I'm in," she whispered. Later that night, she sat on her bed, laptop open, scrolling through grainy PDFs Lawson had sent. Complaints, excessive force, unlawful search, harassment, names she didn't know, stories eerily similar, always dismissed for insufficient evidence. Each page tightened the knot in her chest. Janelle poked her head in. "Still reading, still burning." Maya muttered, "Look at this. Years of complaints, all buried." Janelle sat beside her, scanning the screen. "They'll say it's coincidence. They'll say the system already reviewed them. Then we show the system's rigged." Maya's voice hardened. "We build the case. We make it undeniable." Janelle sighed, rubbing her temples. "I just don't want them to bury you in the process." Maya closed the laptop, staring into the darkened window. Outside, the city pulsed with neon and sirens. Daniels was out there somewhere, confident the wall would hold. But the cracks were there, and she had seen them now. Her voice was quiet but firm. "Let him think he's untouchable. That's how empires fall." The silence after her words was heavy, almost sacred. Somewhere across town, Daniels's laughter echoed in a precinct room, blind to the fissures spreading under his feet. The sun was sinking, but the heat of the day still clung to the pavement. The square was alive again, chants rising, drums echoing off the buildings, signs lifted high like shields of paper and wood. Maya walked near the front, chest tight, but her stride deliberate. Every step felt heavier than the last. Janelle walked close beside her. "You sure about this? After what he pulled last time, he wants me gone," Maya said flatly. "If I disappear, he wins. If I stay, people see what he's doing. That's the difference." The crowd thickened near the courthouse steps. Police lined the edges, shields up, but faces exposed this time. Daniel stood at the center, helmet hanging from his belt. His eyes scanned the sea of faces until they landed on her. A slow smile spread across his face. Maya felt the weight of it like a hand pressing on her chest. The chant swelled. "No justice, no peace. Hands up, don't shoot." The rhythm thundered, pulsing through every body in the crowd. Daniel stepped forward, arms folded, smirk sharp as glass. "Carter," he called, voice cutting through the chants. "Back again for round two." The crowd turned, phones lifting, lenses locking. Maya forced her voice steady. "Back to finish what you started." Daniels gestured mockingly at her raised hands. "You, planning to behave this time?" Maya's blood ran hot, but she said nothing. She only raised her chin higher. That was when it happened. Daniels moved fast, shoulder lowered, body colliding into hers. She stumbled backward, caught off guard, nearly toppling. His baton clattered deliberately to the ground. Gasps erupted from the crowd. Officers surged forward. She struck him. One of them shouted, "What?" Janelle cried. He shoved her. Phones caught everything, flashes and angles from every direction. But the police line didn't care about evidence. Arms grabbed Maya, twisting her wrists back hard, metal cuffs biting skin raw. "You're under arrest." Daniels growled into her ear, voice low enough for her alone. Resist, and you'll regret it. I didn't touch you, Maya spat, voice shaking with fury. Tell it to the judge, he sneered. The walk to the cruiser was chaos, crowds screaming, bodies pushing, officers shoving people aside. Janelle fought to reach her, voice hoarse from shouting. She didn't do anything. Let her go. Maya's shoulders burned under the weight of the cuffs. Her face flushed with humiliation as dozens of cameras followed her every step. She bit down hard, refusing to let tears fall. Inside the cruiser, the door slammed, sealing her in. The glass muted the crowd's roar into a muffled storm. Daniels slid into the front seat, turning just enough for her to see his grin in the rearview mirror. Checkmate, he muttered. Maya's chest tightened, but she locked her gaze on his reflection. The game isn't over. The jail was fluorescent and cold, the air thick with disinfectant and despair. The cuffs were finally removed, leaving her wrists raw and swollen. A female officer led her through processing, voice monotone. Shoes off, jewelry off, pockets empty. Maya complied, movements stiff. She felt eyes on her 30 detainees, lined against the wall. Some weary, some curious, some quietly nodding in recognition. They knew, they understood. A woman with dreadlocks leaned close as they were herded toward the holding cells. They did you dirty out there. I saw the clip already. Whole city's talking. Maya's throat tightened. It won't matter. They'll spin it. The woman shook her head. Maybe, but the footage don't lie. You just hold on. The cell was cramped. Concrete bench against the wall. The smell of bleach failing to cover sweat and fear. Maya sat with her back straight, forcing her breath steady. Her wrists throbbed where metal had cut deep. 2 young men across from her whispered, "That's her, right? The one the cop shoved." "Yeah." Daniels is trending already. Half the city saw it live. Maya stared at the floor, jaw clenched. She hated the word trend, as if her pain were content, as if the bruises on her skin were hashtags instead of wounds. The hours stretched. Fluorescent lights buzzed overhead. Officers paced the hallway outside, indifferent. Each time boots clicked closer, Maya braced for bad news. Instead, Janelle's voice finally echoed down the corridor, raised and furious. She's being held on false charges. We have footage. Witnesses release her now. The guards ignored her, but Maya's chest swelled. Janelle was still out there. People were still out there near midnight. Daniels appeared outside the bars. He leaned casually against the frame, arms folded, expression smug. Comfortable? He asked. Maya looked up, eyes steady. You staged it. Everyone saw. He shrugged. They saw what I wanted them to. A shove, a scuffle, a strike. Reports will match. Judges trust badges, not fists in the air. You think you're untouchable, she said, voice low. I know I am, he replied. You'll learn. He turned to walk away, but Maya's voice cut through the silence. Every empire falls, Daniels. Remember that. His smirk faltered, just for a second, before the mask returned. He left without a word. Maya leaned back against the cold wall, breath shallow but unbroken. The bruises on her wrists burned, but deeper than that, something steadier pulsed. They had trapped her, they had humiliated her, but the cameras had caught more than they realized. The story was bigger now. The truth was heavier. And walls, no matter how solid, cracked under pressure. The courtroom smelled of wood polish and stale paper. Rows of benches creaked under the weight of citizens, reporters, and silent officers in uniform. Sunlight cut through high windows, slicing the air into golden beams. Maya sat at the defense table, wrists bare but still aching. The phantom pinch of handcuffs lingering. Attorney Lawson leaned close, whisper sharp, "Stay composed. They'll try to provoke you." Maya nodded, eyes fixed ahead. Her heart hammered but her face remained still. This was no street protest. This was the machine's inner chamber, and every glance, every word would be bent against her if she slipped. The prosecutor stood, buttoning his immaculate suit jacket. Your Honor, the defendant engaged in aggressive actions against Officer Daniels during a lawful attempt to disperse an unlawful assembly. She shelved him, resisting orders, creating danger to public safety. Maya's chest flared with heat. Her mouth opened, but Lawson's hand pressed lightly against hers. Not yet. The judge, an older man with cold eyes, nodded. Proceed. Daniels took the stand. His uniform was crisp, his posture almost saintly. He placed one hand on the Bible, voice calm, rehearsed. I was maintaining order, he began. The crowd was volatile. I gave Ms. Carter multiple warnings to step back. She ignored. When I attempted to secure the line, she struck me. I restrained her using minimum necessary force. Maya's fingernails bit into her palms. The lie rolled smooth from his tongue, polished by years of practice. Lawson rose, pacing slowly. Officer Daniels, are you saying Ms. Carter initiated physical contact? Yes, Daniels said firmly. And the baton you dropped, was that intentional? Daniels blinked. No, it slipped. A murmur stirred in the gallery. Lawson pressed. Strange coincidence that your baton slips at the exact moment Miss Carter is accused of aggression. Daniels's smile was thin. Crowds are chaotic. Objects were being thrown. It was tense. Lawson leaned closer, voice sharp. Are you aware that multiple videos show you shoving Miss Carter before any contact occurred? Daniels's jaw flexed. Videos can be edited. Whispers rippled across the room. The judge banged his gavel. Order. Maya's throat tightened. She wanted to scream, to tear through the facade, but Lawson's eyes warned her patience. The prosecution called witnesses, 2 officers who echoed Daniels word for word, their testimonies as synchronized as drill commands. Maya listened, jaw aching from restraint. Each phrase was a brick in the wall closing around her. Finally, Lawson called her forward. Maya stood, legs steady, palms damp. She raised her hand, swore the oath, and sat in the witness chair. Miss Carter, Lawson said gently, why were you at the protest that evening? Her voice was clear, though her heart pounded. To demand justice, to stand peacefully, to show that our voices matter. And when Officer Daniels confronted you, Maya locked her eyes on Daniels across the courtroom. He told me I wasn't where I belonged. Those were his exact words. I didn't strike him. He shoved me. He staged it. The only threat that night was his badge used as a weapon. The courtroom buzzed. The judge rapped his gavel again, expression cold. The prosecutor rose. Miss Carter, you admit the crowd was tense. How can you be certain you didn't make physical contact in the chaos? Maya's voice didn't waver. Because I know my own body. Because I remember the pain of being thrown, not the power of striking. And because the cameras saw it too. The prosecutor sneered. So you put faith in shaky phone footage over sworn officers. Maya leaned forward. I put faith in truth, even when you bury it. Gasps echoed. The judge's face hardened. Ms. Carter, watch your tone. She swallowed her fury, but her eyes never left Daniels. Hours dragged, testimony stacking like weight on her shoulders. When the session closed, the judge announced, trial adjourned. Additional evidence will be reviewed. We reconvene in 2 weeks. Maya's chest collapsed inward. Delay, the oldest trick in the book. As the courtroom emptied, Daniels approached, flanked by officers. His smile was quiet, taunting. Looks like you'll have plenty of time to think, Carter. She met his gaze, voice a razor whisper. Ticking clocks don't favor tyrants. Every second, the cracks widened. His smirk faltered, just barely, before he turned away. Lawson touched her arm. You did well. We're still standing. That's what matters. But as Maya stepped out into the evening air, the courthouse looming behind her, she felt the weight of the machine pressing down. It wasn't broken yet. It was grinding her, testing her resolve. She tightened her fists. She would not be ground to dust. The newsroom smelled of burnt coffee and ink, the low hum of computers filling the air. Maya sat across from reporter Calvin Ross, a wiry man with restless eyes and fingers always twitching over his keyboard. The fluorescent light reflected off the screen between them. Footage paused on the exact frame where Daniels shoved her. Calvin tapped the clip rolled again, the baton slipping, Daniels lunging, her body jolting back. He paused, zoomed, enhanced. The angle from another phone merged onto the screen. Same moment, same shove. He leaned back, exhaling. They can't bury this anymore. Not when we've got 3 angles, 2 live streams, and times. Daniels staged it, clear as day. Maya's voice was low. Then why do I still feel like the ground could swallow me? Because the system's heavy, Calvin said bluntly. But systems crack when weight shifts. And this clip, this shifts it. The leak dropped at dawn. Not a full news package, just the raw files, uncut, distributed across feeds like wildfire. Within hours, hashtags ignited. Hashtag Daniels. Hashtag Justice for Maya. Phones buzzed. Televisions blared. Anchors read aloud words that felt like bomb and fire at once. Officer Daniels caught staging altercation. Footage contradicts sworn testimony. Department credibility under fire. Maya watched it unfold from Janelle's small apartment, curled on the couch with her knees tucked tight. The city outside was iPhones honking in rhythm, chants echoing even blocks away. Janelle set her phone down, eyes wide. Maya, You're everywhere. Maya shook her head, voice tight. It's not me. It's the truth. They finally see it. Her chest trembled, relief tangled with fear, because exposure cut both ways. By afternoon, the protest swelled larger than any before. Thousands packed the square. Chants roared. Signs stabbed the sky. Maya moved through the crowd like a current carried her, every face turning, voices calling her name. A young girl tugged her sleeve. You're the one he tried to hurt, right? Maya crouched, forcing a smile. I'm the one who stood up. And so are you, just by being here. The girl's eyes shone, and Maya's throat tightened. She rose, the chants hammering through her bones. On the courthouse steps, Daniels appeared. His face was taut, lips pressed thin, cameras swarmed, microphones shoved forward, reporters barked questions. Did you falsify your report? Why does the video contradict your testimony? Are you facing suspension? Daniels barked back. Fake clips, staged editing, none of it real. But the crowd laughed, jeered. The chant shifted, sharp as a blade. We saw it, we saw it. Daniels's face reddened. His eyes darted and landed on Maya. For a moment, the mask slipped. His glare was raw, almost feral. Maya didn't flinch. That evening, Maya, Janelle, and Calvin huddled in the newsroom again, the television blaring live updates. The anchor's voice was steady, but the words burned. Sources within the department confirmed that Officer Daniels is now under internal investigation. Civil rights attorneys have filed formal motions citing misconduct and perjury. Janelle grinned. It's happening. He's falling. But Calvin's expression was grave. Careful. Cornered men swing hardest. He's not done yet. Maya stared at the screen. Daniels's image filled it, his jaw clenched, sweat glistening under camera lights. Her gut told her Calvin was right. The machine didn't break this fast. It snarled before it collapsed. Late that night, her phone buzzed. Unknown number. She almost ignored it, but instinct made her answer. Silence. Then a breath. Then his voice. You think you've won, Daniels whispered. You think the mob makes you strong, but mobs scatter, systems endure, and I'll still be standing when they're gone. Maya's grip tightened on the phone. You're already falling, and the whole city's watching. The line went dead. Her hands shook. Janelle saw and rushed over, worry etched deep. What happened? He called. Maya's voice was a whisper. He's not finished. Sleep didn't come. Her dreams tangled with flashes of lights, cuffs, Daniels's smirk. She woke with sweat on her skin, the sound of chants still echoing in her ears. Morning brought headlines sharper than any nightmare. Department fractures under scrutiny. Mayor calls for accountability. Civil rights division steps in. The machine groaned. Cracks visible to everyone now, but the sound of Daniels's voice lingered in her chest, a warning, and Maya knew, truth alone didn't end men like him. Pressure had to be unrelenting. The fight was no longer about her alone. It was about whether the machine itself could be forced to yield. The courthouse plaza was a storm. Thousands pressed into the square, voices a wall of sound. Drums thundered. Flags and cardboard signs waved like a forest in the wind. The city's heart beat on concrete and asphalt. Maya stood near the front, Janelle on one side, Calvin on the other. Sweat rolled down her back beneath her jacket, but her spine was iron. The leak had set fire to everything. Today was not just protest, it was reckoning. A giant screen across the plaza showed live news coverage. Anchors spoke over clips. Daniels shoving, Daniels lying, Daniels swearing under oath. Each replay fanned the fire. Janelle's voice cut through the roar. They can't spin it anymore. Everyone sees him for what he is. Maya's throat was dry. That's when they're most dangerous. The courthouse doors opened. Officers in formation marched down the steps, shields gleaming under At the center, Daniels, helmet tucked under his arm, face hard but pale. The crowd erupted. Boos, jeers, chants of his name twisted into curses. He stepped forward like a man walking into flames, jaw locked, eyes darting. Cameras tracked every move. He raised a megaphone. His voice cracked but carried. This assembly is unlawful. You are ordered to disperse. The chant cut him off. We saw I. The words hit him like stones. His hand trembled on the megaphone. He barked again, louder, but the chant swallowed him whole. Maya saw it, the flicker of panic behind his eyes, the mask of authority crumbling. An officer beside him muttered, too close to a hot mic. Sir, maybe we should fall back. Daniels snapped, voice sharp. Hold the line. But cracks were visible. A younger officer lowered his shield slightly, glancing at the crowd, at the screens replaying the shove again and again. His lips moved. He lied. Maya felt a surge, small, fragile, but real. The machine was tearing from the inside. She stepped forward, voice rising. The world saw you, Daniels. No more lies. No more cages. The crowd thundered with her words, wave after wave. Daniels's face twisted. He shoved the megaphone aside, pointing directly at her. Arrest her now. But no one moved. The officers exchanged glances, some shifting uneasily. Daniels shouted again, voice cracking. Do it. Still, no movement. The silence of refusal was louder than the crowd. Then, it snapped. Daniels lunged down the steps himself, hand reaching for his baton. Cameras zoomed, flashes strobing. Maya's chest locked, every muscle coiled. She braced, but before he reached her, Calvin stepped in, holding his phone high, lens pointed like a weapon. You touch her, and the world sees everything, Calvin said, voice steady. Daniels froze, chest heaving. His hand hovered near his belt, fingers twitching. The chant surged. Everything, everything. He looked around at the officers refusing his command, at the cameras, at the crowd closing in like an ocean. His authority dissolved, grain by grain, until only fear was left in his eyes. Maya stepped forward, inches from him now. Her voice was calm, but it cut like steel. It's over. Blue lights flashed suddenly behind the courthouse. A new line of officers emerged, not riot gear, but suits and badges. Federer. The crowd parted, shock rippling. One stepped forward, papers in hand. His voice boomed through a megaphone. Officer Daniels, you are under arrest for perjury, assault, and misconduct under color of law. The plaza exploded in sound cheers, sobs, screams of disbelief. Cameras surged forward. Daniels's face drained of color. What? No, you can't. This is a setup. Two agents gripped his arms, snapping cuffs onto his wrists. The sound of metal clicking shut echoed across the square. Maya's breath caught. For a moment, time slowed. The man who had shoved her, lied about her, caged her, now stood in chains. As Daniels was led away, his voice cracked into desperation. This isn't justice. This is a witch hunt. But the chants drowned him, deafening. Justice. Justice. Janelle clutched Maya's arm, tears streaming. You did it. You stood and he fell. Maya shook her head, eyes wet but steady. We did it. Everyone here. The plaza roared. Floodlights gleamed. News anchors shouted over the noise. History was burning into the air. And yet, beneath the triumph, Maya felt the ache in her chest. A quiet truth. Victory never erased scars. Hours later, the crowd thinned, leaving signs scattered across the ground like fallen leaves. Maya sat on the courthouse steps, exhausted, body trembling from adrenaline crash. Janelle leaned against her shoulder. Calvin paced, phone buzzing nonstop. The city was still buzzing, but the square had gone quiet. Maya whispered, almost to herself, they arrested him, but will the machine change? Janelle squeezed her hand. Machines rust when people stop oiling them. Today we broke one gear. That's how it starts. Maya let the silence settle. Somewhere deep inside, the weight of bruises, of fear, of sleepless nights, remained. But something new pulsed with resolve sharper than pain. The breaking point wasn't just his, it was hers too, and from here, there was no going back. The trial was packed, every bench filled, reporters shoulder to shoulder, cameras perched on tripods like birds of prey. The air buzzed with heat and expectation. Maya sat behind Lawson at the defense table, hands clasped in her lap. Her wrists still bore faint shadows of old bruises, but her eyes were sharp. Today wasn't her trial. It was his. Daniels stood at the opposite table, suit stiff hair slicked back too tightly. The swagger was gone. His hands twitched when he thought no one was watching, but everyone was watching. The judge entered, gavel cracking the room into silence. This court is now in session for the case of State versus Officer Richard Daniels. The words echoed. For the first time, he was the defendant. The prosecution wasted no time. Screens lit up with footage, the shove in slow motion, the baton clattering on concrete, Maya stumbling back, his hand closing on her wrist. Gasps rippled with every replay. Witnesses followed, activists, journalists, bystanders, each recounting the same truth. Daniels lied. Daniels provoked. Daniels abused his power. When Calvin testified, he raised his phone for emphasis. The camera doesn't lie. This is what we all saw. This is what he tried to bury. The defense sputtered, claiming doctored video, biased witnesses. But the evidence stacked higher than excuses could reach. Maya sat silent, fists clenched, as the walls that once closed in on her now closed around him. Daniels finally took the stand. His voice was flat, eyes darting between jury and judge. I acted within protocol. The crowd was hostile. I used minimum force to protect order. Lawson rose, papers in hand. Officer Daniels, are these your sworn reports? Yes. And in them, you state Ms. Carter struck you? Yes. Lawson pressed a button. The screen lit with footage 3 angles, synchronized, Daniels's shove clear. Maya's hands empty, her body reeling. Lawson's voice sharpened. Where, officer, does she strike you? Daniels swallowed, jaw flexing. Silence stretched. Lawson leaned closer. You lied under oath. You weaponized your badge against a citizen. That is not order. That is corruption. The jury's eyes never left him. His mask cracked, sweat dripping down his temple. Closing arguments cut like knives. The prosecutor's voice thundered. This is not one bad night. This is a system that allowed him to believe he was untouchable. But no badge is above the law. Today, you decide whether truth has weight in this courtroom. The defense stammered about chaos, danger, misunderstanding, but their words landed flat, thin against the mountain of evidence. The jury filed out. Silence held the room in a chokehold. Maya's heart pounded in her ears. Janelle squeezed her hand, whispering, breathe. Minutes dragged like hours until the jury returned. Faces grave, papers clutched. The 4 persons stood. We, the jury, find the defendant guilty on all counts. The words slammed into the room. Gasps, sobs, cheers erupting all at once. The gavel pounded for order, but the sound was drowned in release. Daniels's face went white, knees buckling as officers moved to cuff him. This time, the metal closed on his wrists for the world to see. Reporters swarmed outside, microphones thrust, headlines already racing. Disgraced officer convicted. Justice prevails in historic case. Maya stepped into the sunlight, the courthouse looming behind her. The crowd erupted applause, chants of her name, tears glistening in strangers' eyes. But Maya raised her hands, shaking her head. Her voice carried over the noise. This isn't about me. This is about every voice silenced, every bruise hidden, every truth denied. Today, one man felt, but the fight isn't over. The crowd roared louder. Janelle threw her arms around her, laughing through tears. He's done, Maya. You survived him. Maya's chest ached, but her voice was steady. I survived, but survival isn't the goal. Change is. That night, she sat alone in her apartment, city lights glowing through the window. Her phone buzzed, endlessly messages of thanks, invitations to speak, strangers calling her a hero. She set it face down. The room fell into quiet. Her reflection stared back from the dark glass. Tired eyes, bruised wrists, a heart both heavy and burning. She whispered to the silence, justice costs more than anyone admits. Her chest swelled with grief for nights lost, trust broken, scars carved deep, but also with something else, unyielding resolve. Daniels had fallen. The machine had cracked, and Maya knew she would keep pushing until it broke. The city woke different. News vans still crowded the courthouse, their lights cutting into dawn mist. Headlines screamed from every screen. Officer convicted, justice served. Strangers in coffee shops debated the verdict. Taxi drivers rolled down windows to shout, "We saw you. We're proud." But for Maya, the morning was quiet. She sat at her kitchen table, coffee cooling, untouched. The victory tasted hollow, like smoke after fire. Her phone buzzed nonstop. Invitations to panels, marches, interviews, politicians wanting her presence, activists demanding her leadership. She swiped them away, screen gone dark. Janelle knocked softly and let herself in. You're hiding. I'm breathing, Maya answered. Same thing for you, Janelle said with a half smile. She sat opposite. The city thinks you're made of steel. They don't see the bruises that still ache. Maya's eyes lingered on her wrists. The marks had faded, but they felt carved into her. They saw him fall. They don't see what it took to stand. Later, she walked through the plaza where it all began. Protest signs still leaned against benches. Chalk slogans faint on the pavement. Justice lives here. No more silence. The echoes of chants still clung to the air, like ghosts. Calvin found her there, camera slung over his shoulder. You know the story doesn't end with a verdict, he said. I know, she replied. Systems don't collapse in a day. They patch themselves, try to keep standing. But people remember cracks, Calvin said. And you're the crack they can't plaster over. Maya exhaled. eyes on the courthouse, looming in the distance. I don't want to be a crack. I want to be a hammer. That evening, the mayor gave a speech on the courthouse steps. Cameras broadcast across the city. This verdict is not an ending, but a beginning. Our institutions must earn the trust they lost. Accountability must not stop here. Maya stood in the crowd, anonymous among thousands. The applause washed over her, but her thoughts were elsewhere on Daniels, shackled and led away. On cell walls she'd stared at, on chants that had drowned out her fear. Beside her, Janelle whispered, "Feels like history." Maya whispered back, "History feels heavier than people think." Night settled. She walked home alone, city lights buzzing overhead. Every corner reminded her of something: the square, the cruiser, the jailhouse corridor, the courtroom gavel dot at her door. She paused. Across the street, kids drew chalk on the sidewalk. One little girl looked up, recognition sparking. She dropped her chalk and waved, shy but certain. Maya lifted her hand and waved back. The girl grinned and returned to her drawing. On the pavement, the words took shape. "Stand tall." Inside, Maya sat at her desk. She pulled a notebook closer, pen scratching slowly across the page. Not a speech, not a statement, just truth in ink. I was shelved. I was caged. I was lied about. I was nearly buried, but I was not broken. She paused, pen hovering, her chest tightened, eyes burning. Justice is not a gavel's echo. Justice is scars carried forward, reshaping the world that carved them. She closed the notebook. The city hummed outside, alive, restless. Maya leaned back, eyes on the ceiling, whispering to herself, not for cameras, not for crowds. We're not finished. The machine had cracked. The man who wielded it had fallen. The cost remained heavy, scars etched deep. But Maya stood, and she would keep standing until standing became unnecessary, until justice was not demanded but lived. The night stretched, the city breathing around her. For the first time in weeks, she let her body rest, not in surrender, but in readiness, because reckoning was not an end. It was a beginning,